HIPcast is brought to you by Enterprise Social Record.
Well, this is going to be an interesting episode. Seth and I have been playing just a little bit with some AI prompts related to the health information profession. And I have some interesting things, Seth. I'm not sure yet. We haven't really got to talk deep about this, so I can't wait to hear some of the interesting things you found. But this is going to be a show about what artificial intelligence says about the health information profession. Couple of simple prompts. I'll share the prompts with you. We encourage you to go use these prompts yourself, and any additional conversation you want to have with AI about health information and our profession. But also, we would love for you to comment here on these posts here to tell us what were your findings, what was most interesting to you in your prompting, or in ours. If you want to talk about ours, that's great. But I'd love to know, what prompt did you use to get some response that you found interesting, whether it's a positive trend or a negative trend, whatever it is, what stood out to you. So I like asking these questions. I didn't have time to consider doing a comparison of the same kind of question in a different segment of our industry or in a different profession or industry at all. But that would also be a fun exercise. Seth, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it would be a fun exercise, and it's something that is we encourage folks to do that. Right now, here in 2026, AI is really good at synthesizing large bits of information. It's also good at doing basic tasks. That's a different version, a different slice of AI. Today, we're looking at LLMs that can synthesize information based on prompts and put it into natural language. So there's a lot of different flavors out there. I tend to lean towards Grok. I enjoy the responses of Grok a little bit better than I do some of the other ones. But I'll note that I read an article this week in Becker's, because we're recording this in July. This episode will come out in August, but just a couple weeks from now. But I read an article yesterday in Becker's that talked about AI, and it was a survey to CIOs. And one of the questions was, what technology are you tired of talking about? I'm paraphrasing, right? But it was basically AI was the answer. And it was, every company in the world is talking about AI. Everybody's talking about AI. And it's like, AI is not going to solve everything. We still need certain aspects of life that doesn't involve AI. Then the next question was, what's the technology you're most excited about? And the answer was AI, which is the most frustrating thing in the history of time when it comes to getting an answer on what's going on in the marketplace. But it's true. That's kind of where we're at. I'm so sick of talking about it and everybody using the term AI. But the problem is it's becoming part of everything we do, and it's just not a natural reality. It is a reality of the unnatural world that AI is involved in everything, and it's a tool that we can use for certain things, for certain tasks.
It's so vast. You're right. I'm so tired of talking. I'm paraphrasing, and I didn't read this article, so now I'm going to have to go find it. But I'm paraphrasing for those CIOs. I'm so tired of talking about it related to absolutely everything, including how I order my cafeteria lunch, right?
Yeah.
But also, I'm most excited about its ability to improve and increase our efficiency and effectiveness in clinical deliveries and in financial revenue cycle, and then just budget operations, etc. So it is frustrating, but it is, Seth, you said it so well. We're just using this prompting today to synthesize a large amount of data that's available to those LLMs. We're not doing Gen AI, right? We're not generating something new and new thought. Not really. I mean, there's a little bit of freedom in the prompts in one of the prompts that I used for this language model that I used. I used ChatGPT today. But there's a little bit of creativeness that I ask it to provide me. But we're not using and building something new here. We're just bringing together all the data that's out there. But I want to ask you a question. I found it interesting. You said I tend to enjoy the responses of Grok. I have a little bit of a different take. When I'm doing anything technical that I want an LLM to support me with, if it's building a format or if it's putting comma delimited things together that are just free text right now, or things like that, formats, templates, those things I do want Grok because of its preciseness.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't say enjoy, because I have done like ask Grok to tell you a joke about health information professionals and IT. It's terrible. It's not good jokes.
They're
But
not
if
great
you
jokes,
ask
but you can
if
put it
you ask
into
other agents,
inappropriate mode, and they are really funny. It does have inappropriate
inappropriate
mode. I can't
mode.
remember what it's called, but there
Oh
is a mode
no.
in Grok that you can put it in to where it's a
Oh,
little wild, and it's.
that's a little wild. Okay,
But
okay.
I'm
So
with you though on the
enjoy
tool set,
Grok.
because there are different AI
That's a
tools that
great
I
point.
use for different things. So
Yeah.
I will use Copilot at work because it does a really good job of looking at all of my files and pulling in information from things that I have from there. Plus, it's the approved one for work. I use Claude for activity based things. Hey, I need you to go do these things, and I
Yep.
can build bots and agents with Claude. I have more conversational items with Grok, especially with the car. I spend a lot of time in the vehicle, and I have a CarPlay app
Yep.
to where I can pop it on, and I'll say, "What's going on in the world today that you think I would find interesting?" Plus, I use it more and more, it's learned what I enjoy, what I look at,
Yep.
and those type of things. So I have more conversation with Grok in that sense. I tend to not use ChatGPT because they keep pushing me towards a paid model, and I'm the cheapest human on the planet, and I don't like the paid
That's true.
models. And then I've also found myself switching from using Google search. If I'm just curious about something, hey, last week I was in Lexington, and I was instead of just traditionally Google searching something, if I want to find a place to go grab a beer and a bite to eat tonight, now I just use the Gemini app, which is Google's AI, and say, hey, I'm looking for this. I want something that's kind of laid back, something I can watch the soccer game on and enjoy the atmosphere of everything around. So you got to figure out what tool to use for what you're
That's
working
true.
through, and that's kind of
Yeah.
today we're talking about what AI looks at the industry, the HI industry, and it came back with some interesting responses. Your response that you sent me from, I think you said ChatGPT, is
hmm
much more structured than Grok's, which I found very interesting.
Oh, that is especially interesting, since typically I will go with Grok if I'm looking for something formatted or technical and structured. So this is simple. My first prompt was, I'm going to read, what do you know about the health information profession? Now, as Seth said, my chat GPT relationship has already identified that I'm a health information professional. Excuse me. It also has identified that I'm constantly leveraging things about American Health Inform about AHIMA, AHIMA. I'm always looking at their website. I'm always pulling information. I'm in constant conversations or reading things that come from AHIMA. So um, it knew me through that lens, first of all. And partially because some of the agents have been relative to our profession. I built an agent in ChatGPT called Grace from our wonderful first, librarian leader, Grace Whitting Myers. And so, I, you know, it knew the profession, but from just that one prompt, what do you know about the health information profession? It gave me a history, what we're traditionally known for. It gave me something I didn't ask for, which was where the profession is heading. Maybe it knew that I would ask that, right? Because it has built this understanding of the things I'm gonna like, my natural flow of conversation. But the first thing I want to just say, the first paragraph that came back, it gave like who we are, that we're ensuring health data accuracy and secure and available, essentially AHIMA's mission or definition of what we do. But it did say also that the profession has changed dramatically over the last 20 years. It was once centered on paper records, transcription filing, and today it's digital health ecosystems, governance, AI, interoperability, cybersecurity, analytics, and information stewardship. So it gave me and I appreciate what it did. It gave me a short paragraph on almost a transformation from paper to EHR without going into a bunch of details. But what it said was where we're heading was incredible. So anything you want to say about the first part of that, Seth?
I did the same prompt in the Grok, and it was a
Okay, yeah.
little more marketing responses.
Okay.
It did source the AHIMA website for a lot of things. So it basically gave the general definition just from the AHIMA website, and it sourced it. The focus being on the complete, accurate, secure, accessible, and standardized information. And then it kind of went through key roles and responsibilities from entry to technical, analytical informatics, management, leadership, and then specialized roles. Went through a little bit of the education, and then the job outlook, giving median pay, projected growth in the
Nice.
market, related fields, which it gave health informatics and HIT. It talked a little bit about the professional body of AHIMA, which is really good that it pulled that. And it just kind of ended on, hey, it's a stable, impactful, and in-demand career for detail-oriented people who enjoy healthcare's business data side without direct patient care, which is spot on
All of
when we
us.
talk about our journeys. But it
Yeah.
is interesting that it did not go further like what you had in ChatGPT. So I'm glad that it sourced AHIMA. And
Uh-huh.
one thing that I always try to bring it back to the students and young professionals is we try to get people into the profession. We have to recognize they're using these AI tools. So we
Yeah.
probably should be, especially if we're a hiring manager, a school that's trying to get students, we should be testing this to see what are the AI tools saying about the profession, so we can be prepared for those new professionals and those young students. So it is
Yeah.
interesting. I got a real detailed look at kind of the industry as a whole compared to yours. Gave you a little more of a response based on your history with it.
Yeah, I think so. I did get some of the roles and it gave me the credentials and, talked about that a little bit in kind of some bullets, like here's some certifications or credentials, whatever. It did, but it really focused a lot on what's next. And I'll just say a few of that. There's the top 10 or at least 10. It doesn't really say it's the top 10. It just says several major trends that are reshaping this profession. And I'm going to name some of those off. But then also, I want to read a challenge that's facing the profession that I also didn't ask it to give me. And I thought it was amazing that it just gave me this information. So, just going to pick a few of these: AI governance and oversight, enterprise data governance, interoperability, nationwide data exchange. Some of those are not new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Data quality for machine learning, that's pretty new for us. It's not, there are some of our professionals that have been working in that space for a while with going to natural language processing and ambient listening and things like that, but it hasn't been as widespread. We haven't been pulled into that as much as we should. Ambient clinical documentation, of course, autonomous coding, predictive analytics, digital quality metrics. But here's something I found interesting. It's not my favorite. I'm going to say my favorite to last. But this one is called consumer controlled health information. And
Oh,
this
okay.
is a trend in our profession. And so I thought, well, that's pretty cool to have something like that. But here's
I wonder if
where it
that's the new
says,
term for what we used to call patient-generated health data.
um, no, because this is consumer controlled rather than
Oh,
patient generated.
interesting.
So that
There's
I'm
a
sure that
new
gets into
presentation
privacy.
for
Yeah,
the
yeah, for
CAs.
all of the yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's brand new for. I mean, it's a pretty cool concept to think about the consumer controlling. How am I going to control that? Am I actually going to have a portal where I can get all my things, and then I get to be the owner of who gets to have access to what? I mean, it's pretty interesting. So this says that although health information professionals possess this expertise that are mentioned above, the profession has sometimes struggled to clearly communicate its strategic value.
Are
And
you
I
allowed
thought
to
that was a
amen an
brilliant
AI?
statement because you said, as we were prepping these, we're going to talk about doing these prompts, you said, I want to ask it about the strategic value. Well, interestingly enough, I didn't even ask about strategic value, but it gave it to me on my comparison.
Yeah.
Because my next prompt, I said, what kind of careers would be recommended for the profession for HIM professionals? I'd like to have some titles. I want to stick with the trend of where we're heading and not focus on our traditional things. And some or many of these future roles may not exist yet. So add roles that you perceive as necessary. But do it for HIM functions in a new tech heavy and digital data industry. Be creative, but be realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit of a longer prompt. And I got some of the most fun things. The first response, the very first sentence says, I think the HIM profession is approaching its biggest identity shift since transformation from paper to EHR.
Again, I'm all amen to AI because
What did you get from that prompt?
yeah.
From
So I copied and pasted your prompt and put it into Grok, and again, Grok was very just straightforward. Here are forward-looking career recommendations for HIM professionals, emphasizing trends like AI integration, and then it lists off all kinds of stuff. But it didn't get into any of um, the opinions or thoughts on things. It just flat out went into, hey, AI automation roles, governance security, strategic leadership, forward leaning roles around research data curator, real world evidence curator, health equity data analyst, things like that. And then it just gave some advice for transitioning into these roles. So it was a very straightforward answer on the role specifically, but it sounds like ChatGPT took a little more liberty.
Yeah, I have let's see, I probably have close to 20 here.
Yeah, I was comparing on the screen here of like, wow, it's a remarkable difference. And did it put it in, I noticed you copied and pasted over. Is it in table format for yours?
It is in table format, yeah.
That's very
All
interesting,
I
the
had to do
differences.
was when I copied from ChatGPT from the model and put it on a Word document, I just had to put the borders around it.
Easy. That's
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
super easy. I'm going to call off some of the roles. I think they're fun. I'm going to stop after I call these off and ask you which one stands out to you. Now, mind you, I'm not going to read all of the high level summary, but I asked the agent to give me or the model to give me a title and then just a high level summary of what it would be. So the very first one is Chief Health Information Officer. That's not really new to us, but it's different in its description. Executive responsible for the organization's health information strategy, governance, quality, AI oversight, interoperability, and data stewardship. Think CIO for a health information professional.
Well, that's very interesting because in that a similar article on Becker's this week that was related to that survey, and it's how I ended up getting to the survey was through a different article. It asked about one of the questions talked to CIOs and said, what are the roles in health IT? Because that's the role I've lived in for some time that are no longer needed. And one of them was the chief digital officer, chief digital information officer, because the CIOs, of course, they would say this, say that that's kind of all combining into one, that it's no longer about the technology per se, it's about the information flow,
Yes.
which means that's starting to push back towards what our expertise is in the industry.
Yes. Yeah, that's fascinating. We should have been truly working in conjunction as peers with that technical health information, person, the CHIO, and then the content person. We should have been in conjunction and side by side making data strategy. That's what
Well,
we should have been doing
and
for a long time.
I remember the title a long time ago was Chief Health Information Officer.
Uh-huh.
And if we would have had the ability at the time or the foresight, I don't know what it was that we didn't have, but have that Chief Health Information Officer title and then hire a CTO as a counter or a
Yes.
report, that could have been the technology arm to
Yeah.
support the information side and information governance. And instead, what we've created in the marketplace is a technology arm that's trying to figure out the information.
Yes, that's exactly right. And we are the information, right? We are the information professionals. It's not only that we know the data and where it's sourced from, we understand how it functions throughout that system of technology, right? We understand all of the implications downstream. So there's another chief AI governance officer. This one's awesome. Enterprise health data governor. There's a healthcare AI risk manager, health information intelligence director. It says transform raw clinical information, raw, sorry, it transforms raw clinical, financial, operational, and consumer data into executive intelligence for strategic decisions. That's a fun title.
Yeah.
Health information innovation, healthcare automation strategist. This is huge for us. This is identifies repetitive administrative work suitable for automation using AI, RPA, robotic process automation, and workflow orchestration. We've been doing workflows for our entire career, most of us. If
And
you've
that
done
was my
anything besides
management
coding, right?
rotation. Yeah, my
Yeah.
management rotation was in school. Was I had to go and document a workflow through the quality department, and then identify places that it would, how to improve it. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a billion years ago now.
Yeah, this is awesome. There's a data provenance specialist. Tracks where health information originated, how it changed, how it modified, who modified it, and whether it can be trusted. Data provenance specialist.
Interesting.
This is a fun healthcare digital identity manager, population intelligence director, clinical data quality scientist, ethics, digital ethics officer, healthcare information security strategist, and then health information experience designer. I left some of these out, but these are fun. So I have one that I've picked out that is my favorite, but I'm going to talk about it in a minute. Did you see anything on that list, Seth? Or does yours have something? Like, did Grok give you something that fascinated you?
Not really that was outside of what was already known. The thought that came to my mind while you were going through some of that is back when I was a director in the HIM department, we would go through this process of making sure our titles, our job descriptions, all those things matched up with what we were doing. This seems like something that we should truly be looking at as an industry, and having our HI leaders inside, let's go traditional HI right now, and let's go through and say those directors, VPs, whatever they are, we probably should be using tools like AI to say, let's look at our job descriptions and our titles. And we want to advance our staff. We want them to
That's
have
such a good idea.
opportunities. And let's retitle the entire staff to look at what they're doing now in the digital world, instead of using legacy titles that are
Such a
still
good idea.
remaining from the paper world. That should be an exercise that we should all be doing in the traditional space. And if you're not in the traditional space, that's okay as well. You can go ask your HR department, hey, I want a title change. Here's what I'm doing. Here's the research I found. You can use AI to do the research. That's okay.
Yeah.
And say, you may not get the financial benefits of it, but from a career perspective, go say, hey, I'd like to have a title change. This is what I'd like to do because I think it better represents what the role that I'm serving in the organization.
Yeah.
And
That's a
use the
great
tools.
idea.
Yeah.
I think we have to, Seth. I think
you have
we
to,
should. Yeah,
we're at
I
that
think we
point,
should
right?
be doing that. Yeah,
Just
we're
like
not
ChatGPT told you at the beginning, we're in this identity crisis,
we
which we've
really
been
are.
in forever, but it's a different world, and we should be changing those titles to accurately
Yes,
represent what
such a
we're
great
doing.
idea. Do you think this is it just as you were talking through that, do you think this will change the domains of, we have, I don't know, 7 or 8 domains that we get CEUs for. Do you think this will change the domains, or do you think that this is going to put this into the innovation and new technology kind of domain? I think it shouldn't. I think this is big enough to be its own kind of thing, like this data management piece, but
It's a good
I don't
question.
know.
I think the domains are very solid in what they do from a foundation,
Uh-huh.
but I think the terminology has changed.
Okay. Fair enough.
So
Fair
it's not
enough. It is
necessarily a
true.
domain change, more how do you
An
accurately
all-encompassing
describe it?
description for
Yeah.
those, a more inclusive description for those, just like the job descriptions that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few other things. There was some consulting and experiencing roles, entrepreneurial roles. Sorry. AI data governance consultant, AI governance consultant, digital health transformation consultant. All of these are consultants. Healthcare data product, AI compliance auditor, digital documentation, data strategy advisor, which would be brilliant. This says helps organizations align information assets with business strategy. A few of the things that it talked about with skills that will matter most, some of those are things that we would expect: information governance, AI governance, data governance, product management. We already have several. We've got a lot of professionals that are in product management or product ownership right now. Digital transformation, we've got a ton of professionals who've done this work through the health information or the EMR transition from paper back in 2011 and 12. Informatics, a lot of these are not new, but here are some newer ones. Um, Health informatics, not new to our profession as it's part of our degree program as an opportunity. But even health information professionals in the field maybe need to know some informatics, some data architecture. We might need to learn about FHIR. Metadata management is massively important. AI risk management, that goes from contracting with vendors all the way through clinical outcomes and financial, like revenue cycle impact. Python, human-centered design. I didn't ask it more about that, but I should. Change management, executive communications, all those things. So some of that is in pockets where we are already. There were only a couple that were really pretty new to us. So maybe instead of it being the title of that section is called the skills that will matter most. So whatever you're lacking in those, sharpen them. You already have a foundation for most of those. So the human-centered design sounds very AI. So
It's trying
we'll
to make
see.
sure
I
we
don't
don't
know.
turn it off. That's like I don't. So
Anything to add there?
yeah, a lot of that's very positive. So I've been described as Eeyore. So let's go Eeyore on it, and let's say what did ChatGPT? And I'll tell you a little bit about what Grok did, because I had a prompt issue. I asked the wrong question,
Uh-huh.
and I had to rephrase the question. But let's go a little negative. Does AI show any risk associated with HI and the profession as a whole?
It didn't get incredibly negative because I'm the opposite of Eeyore, and my language models know that about me. But it did give me a real prediction that could start pointing to your Eeyore things to support the next prompt that you did, which was a brilliant prompt, simple but brilliant. This says the agent predicted the title health information management will probably become too narrow for what the profession actually does. The future isn't about managing charts. It's about governing, engineering, and activating trusted health information across increasingly AI healthcare driven systems. So the point there being, we're still in that paper managing charts. That's how the world still sees us,
Mm-hmm.
is that we're managing medical records. And so that it doesn't give a prediction there. It just gives this is too narrow. And it's really saying, it's calling it a prediction, but it's really saying the truth about today, that we are still scoped very narrow in what the world understands about us.
Yeah,
So tell us your prompt.
the comment there that the title health information management will probably become too narrow for what the profession actually does is wildly deep. And it's
It's
such a simple sentence, but it is so true. And I will tell the audience that there was a time in 2008, 2009 timeframe that I was in the House of Delegates for HEMA, and we were trying to push informatics to be added as a domain and into the name of the organization to better suit
Yep,
us for the future. And we had so many people push back on that it
yep.
ended up failing in the profession. And you fast forward now to 2026, and we should have taken that domain and made it
Yeah.
ours, because now we are so narrow that it kind of leads me into what Grok said. So initially, I asked the question, what are the risks in the profession? You got to be careful when you're doing these prompts,
That's
because the
right.
word "in" was wrong, and when you have Tennessee grammar, sometimes the LLMs struggle with
It's a
that.
valid question. It just wasn't the question you intended.
It wasn't the question I intended. So then I
Yeah.
changed it to, what are the risks to the profession?
Yeah, that's huge.
And it's very interesting. It goes through quite a bit around AI and automation driven transformation, which will cause displacement, potentially erosion of professional boundaries and identity. I agree with that. One thing that noted was cybersecurity and breach fatigue, talent pipeline and workforce sustainability issues, which I
Wow.
agree. And then a few other things, but I do want to go back to the very beginning of what it said. Risk to the health information management profession as a whole, rather than risk faced by individual practitioners, center on structural, technological, and societal shifts that could erode its relevance, scope, or viability over time. While HIM remains essential and growing in the short to medium term, several longer term challenges could reshape or diminish the field if not actively addressed.
Wow.
And I think that's incredibly true. That's what I
Wow.
feel. But this actually puts it in terminology that I'm like, yeah, I think that could be a massive risk to the profession. And it's something that a lot of folks have tried to change for years. You talked about our founder of, Grace there, that we have a lot of people that hold on to that mindset. And unfortunately, we could be at a point to where the society, the world, the technology, the processes are moving faster than we will as a profession, and the light could go out. I don't know. I hope it doesn't. I
Well,
think there's a
it's
chance.
interesting. Some of this is about appetite. You
Mm.
mentioned informatics not making it through the profession, and there was a lot of pushback. I could take you to 2015 when we did the same thing with information governance. A lot of people in our profession had done a ton of work on the information governance and building that structure that was very content related. And in 2015, I think we decided as a profession, we're not going to further this. And I don't really know that that was the profession as much as the organization, that just the AHIMA organization that said, we're just not going to focus on this. And then here we are 11 years later, more than a decade later, and we are right back in the place, kind of going back to your earlier comment. We should have had a CTO focusing on that technical side, and we should have been the CHIO focusing on that content side. And and the top three things that were here were AI governance, data governance, and information governance. So governance is, so we just, the appetite of our profession to, while we keep up and we still manage to keep a spot, our profession is kind of shrinking in number and membership,
It is.
and our appetite to fight the long battle has not persisted. Do you agree with that?
100%. And as we wrap up here, I want to read the final line here that I think just really ties a bow on what you're saying with appetite. It says, Grok says, overall, the biggest risk to the HIM profession is stagnation in the face of rapid technological and systemic change. Those who treat it as a dynamic strategic field rather than traditional records management are likely to thrive, while purely operational approaches may see declining relevance.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I feel that deep in my bones. I feel that
100%.
deep in my bones. One quick thing is, Seth, can you put, I think I've already sent you this. Would you put those titles of the career title with the high level summary? There's 21 or 2 of them. Would you just put those somewhere in where people can access it? I don't care if you take a picture of it, put it on a slide deck, whatever, when you post this. My favorite job that the computer gave me was a clinical knowledge engineer. And I asked it to give me a side by side comparison of that role in a hospital or physician organization in a health plan or payer organization, and then in a healthcare vendor or technology company. And I'm just going to read a couple of things. So the kind of the high level summary for each of those three segments. The first one being the healthcare provider. Transform clinical knowledge into operational intelligence that improve patient care and decision making. For the payer, transform benefit, payment, and population health knowledge into intelligent systems that improve outcomes and efficiency. And then for the healthcare vendor, transform healthcare expertise into scalable, configurable products and AI-enabled solutions. All of those do great, right? And the first two talked about outcomes. Neither of them talked about financial stability, which I think is incredibly important in a provider organization and in a health plan organization. But it's got primary customers knowledge that they engineer. For the provider, it's clinical guidelines, pathways, documentation, CDI, quality measures. For a health plan, it's coverage policies, benefits, prior auth, risk adjustment, HEDIS. For the vendor, it's product knowledge, configuration rules, workflows, AI libraries, regulatory content, and implementation. And there's a whole lot of other categories here: AI systems supported, typical projects, deliverables, success metrics, all these other things. Financial and business impact. I ask it specifically to give me that. It talks about for the provider organizations, protects and grows revenue through better documentation, coding quality, clinical efficiency, reduces denials and audit risk. For the health plan, improves payment integrity through fee schedules, code and rate data, risk adjustment, utilization management, quality while lowering medical administrative cost. And for the vendor, create scalable knowledge, assist assets that accelerate implementation, reduce support costs, improve adoption, increase ARR, annual rate of return, and then the difference differentiates AI-enabled products. But here's that value question, Seth. Enterprise value created. It gave me this without me asking. For the provider side, it protects and grows revenue while improving the outcomes and reducing operational friction. For the health plan, optimizes medical spend, payment accuracy, member experience, and regulatory performance through trusted knowledge. For vendors, transform healthcare expertise into scalable intellectual property that drives growth, customer success, and competitive advantage. And the one final thought I have on this is from the agent without me asking. It says, if I were defining the profession in one sentence for 2035, it would be, now this sounds very similar to our trusted health information, thing from AHIMA, but it's futuristic a little. It says health information professionals design, govern, validate, protect, and optimize the trusted flow of health information between humans, machines, and intelligent systems. I thought that was a pretty cool. Take.
Good description. So, I mean, to tell everybody that's listening to this, yes, there are challenges in our profession, but there are also massive opportunities if you take this thing by the horns and you look at the profession of how you're going to utilize your skill set, your training, your education, your experience as a dynamic strategic field. You can do all kinds of things in this profession. But if you look at it as just operational and oh, woe is me and Eeyore, then this will diminish and will go away. So it truly is a take the bull by the horns type profession, and
very East Tennessee of you to say.
It. I'm not touching a bull though. I'm not leave that thing in the field. So Shannan, this has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this exercise.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I hope if you're listening that you will do some of these prompts, put some things out there, comment on what you think what does their future look like? What are some roles that we may not have mentioned here? What are some roles that you're excited about in your organization that are already happening and unfolding? So anyway, yeah, Seth, this was a ton of fun.
Yep. All right, Shannan. Until next time, my friend.
I'll see you next time, buddy.